Welcome back to the round 4 Supercoach review with me, JD. It has been a massive round. I thought it was going to be a fairly boring, fairly straightforward round that we were going to have to go through, and then Sunday happened and everything's kind of changed from that point. So a lot to cover. I'll obviously go through my team as normal, but then I guess we'll also go through the big news this week, which is some of the suspensions, some of the injuries, and the trades that we're potentially going to have to make around that. So we'll go over in what situations should we be trading, who are we looking to get in, who are we looking to trade out, and then what are the targets and the ways we should be thinking about that. So not a half bad week by me at all. 22.77. I feel like this could have been a bit better, but a couple of things didn't go my way, which is fine. And I wasn't holding a lot of the really big players that went off that were quite popular owned. So Heaney, something like 40% owned, had a big week. Gone is still somewhat popular, had a huge week. And then Brodie, which is another one that I don't own, had a big week. Those three combined kill me. So to opposed to a score which saw me go up kind of 6,000 ranks into the top 10k, despite all that, pretty good. But yeah, could be better. All right, so and then I think no trades for me last week, so still at 31, 5 trade boosts. All right, so let's just whip through the team quickly. Defense as a whole did a really good job. Short continued to be great. Crisp had a big game, which was expected given that their midfield was down, both Adams and Bowey, and they're up against West Coast. Just a lot of time, a lot of opportunity in there. Not sure if this persists, and I'm pretty worried about how to score against Brisbane this week, but we'll see how that goes. Dawson did his classic play the game for 3 quarters and then managed to scrape a near ton or salvage a near ton. So he was on I want to say 50 at half time, and then he was on 50 at 3/4 time. And then he pulled out another 50-point quarter. I don't know how he does it, but yeah, just put in 4 quarters, Dawson, just 1 week, and we'll see some big scores happen. A little bit fortunate they were still scaling and the game was still on the line at the end. Otherwise, a lot of the stuff he did in the 4th quarter just wouldn't have got him that many points. Hewitt was immense again, and this was obviously compounded by Cripps going down. I feel like he really led the midfield. Walsh doesn't seem to be up to 100%. Chera ain't that guy. So yeah, Hewitt was immense, and he's going to continue to be immense. Obviously, if you don't have him, then this is someone that you just got to get, especially with what's going on this week. I'd be trading Cripps to Hewitt, for example. And then Whitfield, another disappointing game. And just by the way, on Dawson, I think he had 9 or 10 clangers, which is part of the reason why his score wasn't better than what it was. So this could have been a much bigger score from Dawson. Whitfield, this also could have been a much bigger score. It could have been a 110 or more. He had a bunch of frees go against him in the first half of the game that held back his score with those clangers, but otherwise was pretty good for the most part and got involved late. He had copped 2 knocks early, one to his knee and one to his face. And they said that he pulled up sore after the game, which is understandable. I think that means he should get up this week, but yeah, one to monitor. And then Hinge did get injured, which is one that I think pretty much everyone owns. So it's really disappointing because he had a couple of great games back to back, super low break even. He still went up a decent amount this week. What was it? 33k, despite the injury. So still went up 33k despite the injury, but yeah, it looks like he may miss a week. So he's got a hip point injury. All they said in the press conference afterwards was it looks like he'll miss some time at this point, but that's all they've said. So how long, how bad the injury is, these types of things yet to be revealed. And so here's one that many will consider trading out this week, which we'll jump into later. McCartan was playing well until the head knock and then didn't do anything. It was already kind of flatlining, but the head knock made it worse. He passed a concussion test and came back on late, so it looks like he should be fine to play this week, but one to monitor. And he's a good matchup against the West Coast as well. And then DeConning was good. I did a lot of good things. I think he helped his job security. I saw Scott say some positive things about him, and they have the Hawks this week, which I would imagine is a pretty okay matchup as well. In the midfield, real mixed bag this week, not going to lie. So McRae, 158, got the vice-captaincy on there. I'm averaging 150 for my captain-vice-captain choice over the first 4 weeks, which was really good. Take that. So yeah, that was good. Neil worked really well through a bit of a tag in this game as well. So yeah, great score. Took got they say he got tagged. I don't think he really did. They just put a bit of defensive effort into him, and this score wasn't as good as a bounce back score as I was going to hope. I guess the good thing is, like, I was going to take Miller over Cripps if my McRae vice captaincy didn't work out. And I know some people went like Dunkley into Cripps, and this was a really bad week for them. I feel for you guys because, this Cripps injury, not good. It's a hamstring. Vossi said that he thought it was one on the lighter end, but they still need to go for scans and properly evaluate that. And so the big news is, like, the big discussion this week is going to be around whether you trade him or not, which we'll get into more in the next section. Raul, a 65, quite a disappointing score. I mean, he's still averaging 100 for the year, but he's really stalled his cash generation. His break-even's now at 68, which he can definitely achieve. I mean, they play St Kilda this week, which I think should be a good matchup. But, he got involved late once the game was kind of dead and held his own score back with a bunch of frees against early, I think, closely checking Cripps. And this is a little bit frustrating. We've seen him kind of closely check inside mids 2 weeks in a row, and I'm a little bit worried that with them coming up against St Kilda, they might use him in the same role on Steele this week. The rookies, or like the 6 to 8 position, very good this week. I looped Berry's score, and then Horn Francis and Dacos all did really well, all with huge scores, which is great. Dacos, it looks like we might be getting as a defender next week, depending on how much mid-time he got this week and how much he gets next week. And then Horn Francis, I don't think we're going to get DPP with him, but it'd be nice if he got forward eligibility. Off the bench, I tweeted during the week that surely Ward's going to have a good score coming soon with all the opportunities getting as a CBA midfielder and just another poor game. I didn't watch all of this game, so between Adelaide, Essendon, and then the Formula One, and then Gold Coast and Blues, there was basically just no time in the day for me to watch this game. So just watch the scores. But yeah, McDonald and Ward both posting bad scores here, which isn't great. McDonald's break-even is 27, Ward's is 29. They've been averaging mid-40s, so they should continue to make money on this, and their job security seems to be okay, but I don't know, maybe they get rested just because they're rookies. I'm also a little bit worried because Hawks have a really tough schedule now. So they've got Geelong in this week, and then they have Sydney, and then I think it's Melbourne. So yeah, like those are some tough matchups, and then I think they have Essendon after that. So I think these three, like, you kind of just hold them. And then Stevens was obviously dropped. He played well in the seconds, and the Swans weren't exactly good against North. So I wonder if that forces some changes. I don't know if they'd recall him this quickly, especially if it's not forced due to injury, but interesting. Like, he might not be that far away from getting recalled, and I'd much rather have him on my bench than Ward or McDonald at the moment. In the rucks, Grundy continued to be Grundy, 110 average, reliable so far. And then Witts, is Witts... Oh, I should have checked this. Is Witts like the top ruck at the moment, or is it Gorn, or maybe it's like English or someone? Wow. Okay, so English, Gorn, Witts, Grundy. That's a pretty great. And then Luke Jackson, and then but by average is Preuss. That's pretty crazy top ruck so far. So yeah, Witts has been obviously a very good mid-price. If you just look at what you paid for him versus some of the others, gone up 70k. Averaging well. Very fortunate this week with Carlton's ruck being a late out. There wasn't really too much opposition there. And so he had his way really with the hit-outs to advantages. He had something like 17. Didn't have a bunch of touches, but was still able to get a massive score as a result. And then Hayes didn't play this week, but it looks like there's a decent chance Ryder gets a week for his bump. He tried to pull up. I don't know if there was much damage to the opponent, but it is the type of thing they are trying to stamp out. Yeah, it's. He's obviously allowed to protect himself in those types of situations. So I don't know. There's a chance that Ryder does get off, but I think more likely than not, he gets suspended for a week, and Hayes becomes a option. at Ruck, which is going to be very handy for those that picked up Preuss this week because has already been confirmed already as being suspended and will miss next week unless they challenge and successfully get him off, but don't see that as likely, to be honest. And then in the forward line, look, this was not a great week for the forwards. Not a great week for the forwards. Dunkley a 103, which, in other weeks that would have been like near one of my worst forward scores, but this week it was the best, apart from the only score I didn't take, which was Rochelle's. Butters built into that game in the back end. I know some people are worried about him and are looking to trade it out. I wouldn't. I think they need to put him in the midfield, and they'll do that, and he'll be fine. And then Cogs had a down game. I guess the worrying thing is that he hasn't had much CBAs over the last couple of weeks, which is going to make his scoring quite turbulent. He still has a break-even of 16, but he's looking less likely to be a keeper at this point, even though he's been the 8th highest rated forward so far this year. Cherry, this is a poor game. He's break-even's now up to 58, but I wouldn't be trading him. I think he'll be fine. He's got the Dogs this week. English obviously isn't a great ruck, so he should be able to get some hit outs there and then obviously challenge him around the ground. So yeah, I just hold on Cherry. He gets ruck DPP, which is going to be handy for cover too. And then Martin was really good, much probably better in the first half than the second half, where he dropped away a little bit, but just everything he did with the ball was so good. He had so many score involvement, so many nice kicks inside 50. It's really hard to believe that he wasn't on a list like a month before the season started, because he's already one of Essendon's better ball users. Just his decision making, his game IQ is just, really impressive. So loving this pick. And everyone should have him at this point, but if for whatever reason you hadn't got him, I think I'd still pay the 195k to pick him up. He's averaging 90. So I would still look into that. Durden missed due to health and safety protocols. I don't think they said whether he was a contact or if he had COVID, but this is just someone you hold on to, and hopefully he's back this week against Port, which should be a decent matchup. And then Rochelle with the big score, the 106. And what's really funny is I obviously looped Rochelle and Dixon here, and I took Dixon's 96, and by taking a 96, I lost out on points. That is crazy. That's absolutely wild. So, Dixon, obviously, he looked really good again. I thought he was one of the West Coast's better players. Hard to see him get dropped. Should be able to make a little bit more money for us, get up to at least 200k. And as long as he plays well, I think he continues to get a game. At least I hope so. We thought that with Hayes, and he still managed to get dropped, which was a bit sad. So that's kind of the team at the moment. There's a few big players that are not owning at the moment is killing me. So I guess Witt's kind of nullified gone for me this week, which is pretty good. But no Heaney, no Brodie, no English. Those are probably the big ones that are really hurting at the moment. Okay, so obviously the big news this week is that Hinge and Cripps are both injured, and the question everyone will be asking is, 1, should I trade them out? And then 2, who should I trade them out for? So let's go first, should you trade them out? And I think the answer for Cripps is almost always going to be yes. So I can't imagine a hamstring being anything less than 2 weeks. And given that we're not in upgrade season yet, I don't think you hold that injury. I think you just trade him on, which is tricky because his price is awkward at 525k. There's not a lot you can side swap to in the midfield. So that's tough. But I think if it's 2 weeks or more, you trade him. If it's 1 week, you hold him. I still think that's probably right. I can't see hamstring being 1 week injury. So 2 weeks or more, we trade him for sure. And then for Hinge, it's really tricky because he's been by far the pick of the defender rookies. I don't want to trade Hinge. But the reality is, for someone like me that doesn't have Bowey, who we'll go into in a second, if I want to have the money to trade Cripps into anything useful, I'm going to have to get rid of Hinge. It's just that's probably the most obvious one. He's at least made some money. The 37 is going to hurt his cash gen when he comes back for a little bit, even though he's still got a low break even to start with. So, I mean, if Hinge has gone 2 or more, I'd probably just trade anyway. But if you don't have to trade Hinge and he just looks like a 1 week hit pointer, I would hold. So, and that might be realistic for those that own Bowey. So I guess like the other trade. So Cripps and Hinge are the 2 obvious ones with injuries. The other players people look to trade out are Bowey, who is up to 370k. He's got 82 break even. I think you trade him out. There's a chance that he actually makes that break even this week because we have seen him spike and go up and down with games. So you could run that gauntlet if you want to, but this was just meant to be a quick cash gen player. You've made 100k and there's a good downgrade option this week. So I think you just move Bowey on. And then the others people will talk about are Whitfield. So yeah, like a pretty average game with a pretty average score. I wouldn't be trading just because there's going to be bigger issues this week unless you don't have Cripps. If you don't have Cripps, I think it's probably okay to trade Whitfield if you've got no other problems. But honestly, I'm happy to hold him. The roll's okay. He's running okay. I think he's just a little bit out of form and this stuff needs to come together. Like he's just not hitting his kicks as well as he did. But to me, it feels like he's been slowly building into the year. Got more touches this week. Did a lot of kicking this week. So I think there's potentially something still there. It's just obviously not an ideal pick. Ridley's another one that people will be talking about. So he started off the game really slow. He was on like 20 at halftime. And then came back to finish on a 74, which was impressive given he got a knock and missed out last like 4 or 5 minutes where he would have been able to get a bunch of scaling. Ridley himself looked good, has looked good every week. He intercept marks well, he kicks well, all that stuff is all good. It's just that the role, or the way Essendon's defense is playing isn't giving him the other cheap stuff that he'd need to get really good, consistent scores each week. I think he's once again someone that you can trade. I already have. I traded him out after a ton because the role just scared me off that badly. But I'd be surprised if you didn't have bigger issues this week and Ridley was just someone that you held. And just on the knock that he had, they said that there was no injury. So I think he'll be fine to play this week. He's probably in the same boat as Whitfield, which is that they just saw they should play. Even if they miss, I don't think I would trade them because it's just going to be 1 week. And, something like a refresher might actually help someone like Whitfield anyway. So I think those are the main trade out targets people look at. And Ward, but I would hold Ward. Stevens is one people look at as well, but like there's not much money to trade out of this. I don't think that helps that many people. So yeah, so Cripps, if it's 2 or more weeks, definitely. If it's 1 week, I think hold. Hinge, if it's 1 week, you can probably hold unless you need to downgrade him for the cash. Bowey, definitely I would be looking to trade, although you don't have to. But yeah, he's one I'd look to trade, probably more so than Hinge, to be honest. And then Whitfield and Ridley, holds unless you've got absolutely nothing else worse going on. And then Ward, I wouldn't bother with trading either. I just slow burn on that one. All right, so then players that people are looking to trade in this week. So there's only one real rookie downgrade worth us even talking about, and that's Nathan O'Driscoll, who has played his 3rd game for Fremantle and was a popular loophole option. So I think his ownership is actually somewhat high already. Look, not someone I thought had great job security with players like Fife and Sarong and Tucker still to return, but he was really good again on the weekend. I think he's kicked 4 goals over 9 quarters or something like that, so 2 and a bit games, and he's up to 167,000 now. 104 was the score on the weekend, so he's got a negative 54 break even, and that 104 will stay in his rolling average for a bit, so pretty easy to see him making 100k or so as long as he continues to hold his spot in the side. And they have Essendon this week and then Carlton next week. There's a good chance that he continues to put up decent scores in those games, reasonable to assume Freo wins both of those. So yeah, the only downgrade option you can consider this week, there might be some debutants. So Hollands and Sitsas from Gold Coast. Oh no, it's Chittas, isn't it? Chittas, not Sitsas. Yeah.
Both look like they could get debuts. There's some others that have been playing well in the seconds as well, but we're not going on debutant. So O'Driscoll, yeah, the real only rookie that you could go after and downgrade. Preuss was one that people were considering, and he's someone that I think you're going to have to bring in next week. So plan for that. 109, 102 over the first 2 games, 204k. Negative 91 break even. So yeah, I think after his 1 week suspension, he'll come back and is someone that you'll have to get. So yeah, definitely plan for that. That's going to be someone that we'll need to go out and get. But one that you can pass on this week just because he's going to play. And then I guess for those of us that missed Brodie, and I don't even want to look at coach's ownership because I have a feeling it's going to be real bad. I can't do it from this screen, thankfully, because it's going to like scare me how bad it is. It's like 69,000 coaches, which I don't want to convert that into ownership, but it must be like 30-40%. That's a lot of the competition. A lot of those ahead of me have Brodie. Averaging 100, like he could make another 100k from here quite easily. It's somewhat scary not owning him. He's probably not the worst downgrade option for Cripps if you don't do anything else. Sad to say, but like it's not insane to consider that. All right, but then the other people would be looking to bring is value primos. So basically, what you should be considering here for the primos that you bring in is 2 things. Are they top price? And actually, it's probably 3 things. Are they top price in their position? Like, are they going to be a top X, 6'8", 2 player in their positions? Are they underpriced for what they'll produce? And how does it help fix your on-field situation for where you're leaking points at the moment, which most teams seem to be? Sorry, some drinking ASMR to help get the video going. So by this, I mean, looking at my team, I already have 5 primo defenders. So adding a 6 probably doesn't make a lot of sense for me, even if I could pick up someone in defense at really good value. But the rest of my team, so I'm at the moment playing Horn Francis and Dacos in the midfield, which are trustworthy rookies. But if I trade out Cripps, then I have to play Ward, Stevens, or McDonald, and none of these are one on my field at the moment. So, maybe Rochelle moves into the midfield instead, and it's Rochelle and these two. And like Rochelle's been up and down, but maybe you could stomach that. And in the forward line, yeah, I mean, I'm playing 2 forward rookies at the moment either, and I probably don't want to do that. So, of the primos, or of the options I would be looking to trade in, I wouldn't go defender, I wouldn't go Ruck. I'd be looking for someone in the midfield or the forward line to help with my balance. And you should be doing the same type of analysis on your team. Where are you leaking points? What is the weakest position? And then with my Cripps trade, can I find someone that's going to be in the top position that is good value that helps plug those gaps? And that is what I'd be doing this week to get the most out of this trade and turning this negative into a positive. So who are the top players in the position and which ones of those are value? I guess I'll try and go through a quick rundown. So in defense, I like all of Doherty, Short, Stewart, Hall, Dawson, maybe even Sinclair, and then, yeah, definitely Hewitt. Sinclair's probably an outside option. Of those, I would say they're mostly fairly priced. Hall, Sinclair, and Hewitt all present probably the best value. Hall is high scoring for his price, but injury concerns. Sinclair is good value, but for the scoring he's produced so far, but kind of unknown quantity. The 8th-year breakout going defender to midfield is always a bit of a sketchy one to pick, although it has worked in the past. Like Chris did well last year. And then, yeah, Hewitt, like if you don't have him by now, then and you need a defender, like absolutely go and get him. In the midfield, I think of the top guys, Steele is the one that you would consider. So Oliver, Petrarca, Took, Walsh, they all have high break evens, have got more money to lose, or they're about to get tagged. So I wouldn't go after any of those. I think it'd be steal if you wanted to go from someone from that top echelon. Otherwise, if you're looking for cheaper alternatives, you've got Brayshaw at 622k, whose break even might be like high-ish still, but he's gotten through 2 tags, and I can't see too many more in his fixture ahead. So probably decent option to pick up now if you like Brayshaw. Otherwise, Parrish and Mills both seem to be pretty good options at the 580k mark. Obviously, Parrish doesn't have merit in the midfield anymore. And with Mills, it's a little bit sketchy just because his Achilles and there seem to be some type of problem with that potentially on the weekend. So maybe this isn't the best player to go after just because of the injury concern. But their fixture is pretty good. I think 4 of the next 5 or something like that are pretty plus matchups. Teams like West Coast, Essendon, these types of things. So Mills could have a string of good scores in him and could be an option to go for. Otherwise, Tom Green would be the other one you can consider who, I don't know what his price is. He dropped his worst score of the year on the weekend, and he plays for Leon Cameron, which always concerns me. But he is actually 500 grand cheaper than Cripps. So if you didn't want to trade out a Hinge and you really like Tom Green, then that seems to be a good option. But yeah, those are the ones I'd consider. Obviously, yeah, as I mentioned, Oliver, Petrarca, Took, Walsh. I would wait on all of these just given where their break-evens are at. I think even... Is Bontempelli still leaking a bunch of money? Or did he scored well on the weekend? Scored a 136. I mean, he's... Wow, he's actually gotten tons in every game. He's scored much better than I thought, and the Dogs run is good. All right, so you could also consider Bontempelli. You could consider him as well, because the Dogs run is very good for the next 6 weeks. Should be 6 wins type thing, or at least 5-1. A lot of good matchups for the Dogs. In the rucks, if you don't have Gawn or Grundy, I think they're both fine targets if you, for whatever reason, wanted to put your money into one of them. Gawn hasn't lost as much money as you would have hoped, but given that they're going to be playing GWS with Flynn, probably is the number 1 ruck, that's a pretty decent matchup. Melbourne's schedule is pretty good as well. So yeah, I think Gawn is actually a reasonable option to trade in this week, which is interesting given the amount of people have been trying to jump off him the last 2 weeks. And then in the forward line, so I think most teams have Dunkley and Butters. The other targets I like at the moment are Taranto. I turned American for a second. Taranto, Heaney, and English. I think Heaney's pretty commonly owned at the moment. I'm one of the few probably that don't have him, at least up towards the top end. The Swans run is still good as well, so they've got West Coast this week, which is a nice matchup, and I'd like Hawks next week. I mentioned with Mills that they had some good games, so yeah, there's a chance that Heaney continues to put up some good numbers, despite the fact he got pretty fortunate with some nice scaling on a junk time goal last week. But yeah, you take those if you're a Heaney owner. And then, yeah, English, I mean, they're going to persist with him being number 1 ruck. Dogs fixture, as I mentioned, is good. So he's someone that you could definitely go after. And then Taranto has surprised this year with how good he's been. I guess the only concern is they have Melbourne this week, which is a tougher matchup. So I don't know, maybe you want to wait and see on him and go for someone that has a nice matchup on debut. Up to you. So I think, yeah, that's everything really. That's the crux of it. So under what circumstances do you trade these guys? We've gone over it with Cripps and Hinge and what the injuries have to look like. Bowey, I think you're pretty guilt-free. And then there's no one else that I really see as a must-trade this week. There's lots of decent trading options, but the only rookie is really O'Driscoll. You could look at Brodie as a more expensive mid-pricer. Otherwise, it's Preuss next week. And then, yeah, we went through the decision-making for who you should trade in from a premium perspective. So for me, and this is where my problems are, 536k doesn't do a lot. So, I mean, I could get Heaney, but I want English. I mean, maybe I get Heaney in. So the nice thing about this is it's just one trade. It doesn't fix any of my issues, but it's just one trade. It's sideways, but I get a top 6 forward and only use one trade. The other option I could always go is if Hinge is out here, go for like a Driscoll, which gives me a bit more money, so it doesn't have to be Heaney. Oh, I'm going to have to reset this whole thing, aren't I? Yeah, there we go, reset. All right, so if I do that, then there's a few more options. I think, yeah, like the tricky thing for me is I can't go steal at that point, so I'm just short, so it wouldn't be steal. I think it would be English is who I would go. I don't know. Just keep loading up on rucks. So, yeah, the good thing about this is, like, I think O'Driscoll's a decent rookie. It frees up 96k for me, which is useful. We know we're trading in Preuss next week, definitely. So having a little bit of cash in bank leading into knowing I have to do that and then upgrade season really starting the week after, that seems reasonable. But is it worth using a trade to go from Hinge to a Driscoll? Maybe. All right, let's just assume we're going to do this for now and we'll set the team just so you get a vibe. All right, so I think Driscoll plays Essendon this week. McCartan plays West Coast this week. It's actually a pretty nice matchup. What's somewhat interesting is you could have the emergency on McCartan, see how he scores on the Friday night. I might do this. And if he scores really well, I don't know, say he tons up for whatever reason, then I don't trade Hinge and I just do Cripps to Heaney. Although, no, wait, that doesn't work. That doesn't work because Heaney plays that game. All right, I don't know what I'll do in this case. But yeah, like I could potentially just keep Hinge if he misses and then loophole this score. But yeah, I think probably playing a Driscoll this week on debut makes sense. Tom Stewart should be back, so DeConning I don't see is like potentially someone's going to do a big score. In the midfield, so like I could, if Stevens isn't playing again, I guess I could loop Berry. The problem is that like Stevens realistically could be a sub for them at some point, and so looping Berry kind of doesn't make sense to do too much, especially given how little faith I have in Ward to put up a good score, even if, you know, like what Berry came off with like at a 44 with a knock to his whatever it was that he played through. Was it his shoulder? It might have been his shoulder. And like Ward still underscored that. So I don't know if I want to even use this as a loop. But yeah, I think probably set up like that in the midfield. We'll go with vice captain, captain in the middle in a second. Sorry. Hayes is back and playing, assuming Ryder's out. And he showed some okay scoring. But if this is my forward line, then I probably want Martin playing against Freo. That makes sense. I don't think I'm going to have a loophole between these three. Otherwise, if for whatever reason Dixon was out, maybe I loophole Cherry, but I don't think that's going to be necessary this week. And so then vice captain, captain. So it looks like, you know what? It's probably McRae again. So assuming Stevens is my loophole this week, then you want to be picking a vice captain from the two games before it. So Brisbane Lions, Collingwood, and North Bulldogs. From Brisbane Lions, I think Neil's the option. From the Bulldogs, you could go, yeah, like McRae, Dunkley, English. McRae, after the week that he's had, probably seems reasonable as an option. Bontempelli, if you pick him up, interesting vice captain. And that'd be using Stevens as the loophole. Like if I had kept Hinge for whatever reason, I don't think that opens that much more because the only games after that are Swans West Coast. I wouldn't vice anyone from there. And then St Kilda against Gold Coast. I guess you could vice captain Steele or Took. Steele's probably been in better form of the two. So yeah, but I think McRae probably makes sense here, or Neil is the vice captain option. Just have to look at the history against those opponents and figure out what we like. And then if this fails, who's my captain option going to be? Tough, because it would have been Cripps. But he's obviously gone, and this is going to be the tough thing. I mean, maybe it's just like vice captain Neil into like captain McRae, and it's just done by like Friday afternoon. No one else is sticking out to me as like a real obvious option.
Oh, just as simple as that. Okay, done. All right, well then this is how I think the team structures up. Oh, the only thing I haven't really set is what my emergency is. I probably still trust Hayes the most. So I would set it up like that. So yeah, that's the team. That's where I'm at. I mean, if you see something better for me, please let me know, because sitting with 100k left and doing Hinge to O'Driscoll doesn't feel the best. So I could see myself just getting in Heaney and then like holding Hinge and passing on O'Driscoll. I don't know. We'll see. It'll depend on injury news, and obviously I'll have to keep an eye on that throughout the week. But let me know how you went. Let me know what trades you're looking at. If you need help with anything, hopefully the thought process I've gone through in this video will get you a lot of the way there. But yeah, happy to help, and I'll see you in the next one.